How's it going, guys? Matt at Nickey Performance here. Friday night here, just after the new year. We're just doing a little bit of dyno work on a ZL1 we got on the dyno. 2020 is here. I'm going to do a couple more of these, quite a few more of these vlog videos. I'm going to try to narrate some of this stuff and get the point across a little better than just doing a quick dyno video of a final pull of some of the cars we tune here at the shop. So yeah, tonight on the dyno, I'm working a little bit late on a Friday night, but yeah, tonight on the dyno, flip this around, we have a 2015 Camaro ZL1. This car has some goodies done to it. So go right under the hood. Obviously, we got 2-inch headers on this car. I believe this car has 2-inch Cook's headers. Ported supercharger. You can see that big throttle body. You got 102 millimeter Nick Williams throttle body. We got 5-inch cold air. This car's got some other add-ons like a DeWitt's big radiator on it. This car's got a 915 lower, I believe, ATI balancer, 255 upper. This car has our stage 1 cam, so not a huge camshaft, but still makes really good power up till 68, 6900. We're kind of spinning one of these blowers to the max. Ported cylinder heads. This car does have a cylinder head package on it. Our push rods, our valve springs, trunnion upgrade, kind of the full top end deal if you'll have it. You can see here it's got the AN lines. This car does have an ice tank for the intercooler in the trunk. So it's got a couple water pumps. Pump down here pumps it up from the trunk, and then we got there's another pump actually in the back by the tank in the trunk that kind of helps since you're carrying all that fluid. The distance of the car, 2 pumps is kind of necessary to keep it flowing. This car does have a kind of a dual intercooler setup on it. We have a heat exchanger on it with fans for the street, and it also has a inner chiller unit on it also, so the air conditioning hooks into it, and we have it set up so you can flip a switch. All the Freon runs through the chiller unit, and that cools the intercooler coolant way down. We can actually get way below ambient temperature, especially on a real hot day. It's 80, 90 degrees outside. We can see intercooler temperatures down into the 50s. So this car is kind of built with drag racing in mind. You can also see we got water meth on it. It's got a 4 nozzle Pro Meth kit on it. So obviously here in the Midwest, it's cold right now, but in the summertime we get, just like down south, you guys down south and racing down in Florida and Kentucky, how hot it gets and how humid it gets. And these blowers run hot, and we try to do as best we can to combat that. Even up here in the northern Midwest in the summertime, we're at 85, 90 degrees, and the DAs we see DAs of 4,000 feet sometimes. We're at the track, if we're at the track at Joliet, or we go to Byron Dragway, we go to Great Lakes Dragway. A lot of these Midwest tracks, US 41, in the midsummer, July, August, it's hot, humid, and anything you can do to cool these blowers down, these cars run way faster when you can get them cooled down. So this car kind of has all the tricks thrown at it as far as keeping stuff cool with drag racing in mind. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. This car does have a return style fuel system on it, a regulator right there. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything on it. It's got a dual 3-inch exhaust. This car still has stock mufflers, but it's a dual 3-inch I made with some parts we had here. So it's got the headers, and it's a little dark on there. We can kind of see we put V-bands at the collectors, so it makes it easier to remove. There's actually V-bands in the back too, so exhaust can kind of come apart in pieces. You can see my wideband O2 sensor I use on the dyno there. You plug that on the dyno's car. Also has a wideband in the exhaust for an in-car gauge, but I use a Innovate LC2 that I plug into my laptop into the HP tuners cable, and I can data log everything right on one screen. It makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to set the camera down, put it on a tripod. I'm going to do a pull. I'm pretty much dialed in. I just did a bunch of pulls on it. I can bring some of those graphs up after I do this final pull, but do a final pull here and see what she makes. Obviously data logging HP tuners, so I do a little walk around quick, hear the idle. A little bit of a lope in this cam. All right, guys. Just got the fans all shut off. It's pretty noisy with those things. I can't really talk over those. So got the pull. You saw that. So here's what we're up about the final numbers here. You see 825 and 745 torque. So not too bad. Bring up some of the other runs. My best run, couple pulls ago, a couple of them here. So what you're seeing here is that pull fired the car up, got it right into the pole after it's sitting for about 10 minutes. That 830 run you're seeing, that was when I let the car idle for, well, I shouldn't say idle, just rolling it on the dyno for 3-4 minutes to let that inner chiller cool the intercooler coolant down. So that pull I just did, I can bring the data, I can show you guys the data log. Coolant temp, intercooler coolant temps were in the mid 60s, ramping up into the mid 80s. That's that 825 run you're seeing now, that 830 horsepower run. Just, I mean, very similar runs, but those three runs, the difference there is that intercooler. When I have that intercooler chilling down, all the way down where I'm starting with a 50 to 55 degree coolant temp, makes just a smidge more power, a smidge more torque. So that's the difference between those three runs. Those are roughly my, you know, some working runs, me playing with letting it cool down more, doing maybe more of a heat soaked run. We like to kind of do, since this is a employee car, we use it for a little bit of development sometimes with some of these cars. We're on the dyno with them, and we like playing with stuff and seeing what different stuff does. It's, you know, really what we use the dyno for is a tuning tool. So, and those numbers are standard. In a sec here, I'll bring those numbers up in SAE, since I know a lot of guys like to see the SAE numbers. They do read a little bit lower, a little bit correction factors a little bit different when you select an SAE correction factor. So here is, and maybe some of you guys have seen HP tuner data log before. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with HP tuners. This is what I use for data logging. So you can see the run here. This is so I start that pull about 2,500 RPM, bring it up. I'm taking that car. You can see about 7,000. If you can see there, that pink line, you see the boost take a little spike. That's where that smaller camshaft we run about runs out on a setup like this. So you can see about 7,000 RPM, 774. That little boost spike climbing like that, that's where the camshaft just starts running out. The blower starts to overrun the, what the camshaft can breathe, and that's why I'm stopping the pull there. These LSA motors, we take these routinely 72.3, sometimes even 7,400 across the stripe at the track, no problems. With the valve train we put in these things is pretty robust, and we're not afraid to spin them a little bit. So I'm running about 27 degrees of time. This car is on E85. I did not mention that before. This is a flex fuel car, so we do this right now. It's winter time. We don't have good E85 right now. I'm showing, see, about 60%, 60.4%. That's what I'm showing right now. It's starting to pull. That those sensors vary a little bit. You can see it kind of moving around as I'm sweeping through the pull there. So this car probably make, from that 830 pull, we'd maybe see 5. If we were at full 75% ethanol, might see another 10. That might be a little optimistic. I'd probably go with say maybe see another 5, maybe 835 with 75, 78% ethanol is usually what we're seeing. But yeah, that's kind of my process here. This is HB tuners. This is kind of my data log screen I use for Gen 4 computers, the E38s and E67 computers. Obviously, we step up to the LT motors. Data logging gets, I data log probably 30 more channels on top of what you're seeing here. So, a lot of other added stuff on the LT motors. I'll obviously do some more videos with those. You're looking at all the different torque readings and stuff like that on those cars. So yeah, this is kind of the process there. That's kind of a pull. I could work on this curve a little bit more. It's just, again, late Friday night. I thought I'd do a little video here of some working runs of this car. Playing with the intercooler system. Again, I can switch from running it through the heat exchanger. We got a heat exchanger with fans, plus we got the inner chiller, so I can switch it between coolant running through both, through just the inner chiller or just through the heat exchanger. So I've been playing with that on the dyno a little bit tonight, kind of playing with different temperatures of what I'm seeing. So this car, I'll go back to that because I sometimes guys want to see that too. So this car, I'm starting that pull, like I said, I started that pull about 60 intake air temp 2. So intake air temp 2 on an LSA is what the temperature is inside the lid of the supercharger. So there's a temperature sensor screwed right into the lid of the blower, that big black lid on the top, and that is what's reading. That's reading the air post intercooler brick. So there's an intercooler brick in the lid of those things. The blower is pushing air up through that intercooler brick. The coolant running through it is cooling the air back down, and that reading right there, intake air temp 2, is what that air temperature is. So with that inner chiller going, cooling that coolant down, this particular run, so like started 64 with that water mess spray, and it climbs a little bit, but not too much. I mean, we're climbing up to 82, so we saw a 20-degree increase. Normally, without any water meth, without the inner chiller, if we were just running like a straight up stock ZL1 intercooler system, it's pretty cool in the shop right now. You can see my intake air temp, straight up intake air temp at the mass airflow sensor is 63. So shop is pretty cool right now. I got, one of the doors partially open with a big fan blowing, our big exhaust fan. We'd see about a start of, AET2s, again, no inner chiller, just a straight up stock ZL1 intercooler system. We'd probably be starting about 70 degrees, but by the end of this pull, on a pull like this, the end of the pull, we'd probably be 100, 110. It would climb pretty far. I mean, when we push the blowers, the IETs climb pretty fast, especially even just a quick dyno pull like that. When this car's making this kind of power, the dyno pulls are pretty quick. But you can see how well that stuff is working. It's keeping the blower pretty cool. Now, again, I go back to that 830 horsepower run. I didn't save that data log, but that run I was starting, my IET2s were about 50, they're about 10 degrees cooler, about 55, 54, and they ended in the 70s. So that's where that extra 5 horsepower came from. Intake air temps are, these cars are super sensitive to intake air temps, and the cooler you can make them, the more power they make. So a little bit of an example of kind of the process here. I thought I'd kind of go through this in a little bit more detail than I normally do, just to kind of show you guys what, again, air fuel is a little sloppy yet. I could clean this up. It needs a little bit, it's a little lean right here in the mid. You can see this yellow line right here. That's my lambda reading. So you can really see where the water methanol really starts to come in right here as it ramps down. And I do have it set a little bit rich. I like to set these things rich with the water meth spraying, just for if any reason that water meth stops spraying, it's not just insanely lean. We are spraying, this setup does have 4 7-gallon-a-minute nozzles, so there's a lot of water meth spraying. So if for some reason that pump stops spraying, this system does have a fail-safe on it for, there's a warning light. And if the tank gets low, but for some reason the pump doesn't spray, it's not going to go insanely lean. So I run these a little fat. This is pretty fat, you know. But again, for some reason, it doesn't. If there's a safety net there, it's not just going to pop the motor instantly. So I'm a little bit lean pre-spray. It's really starting to ramp in about 4,500 RPM. I really have it. It's starting to really ramp in quite a bit. So, but again, these are working runs. E85 is very tolerant of you know, on these lower compression LSAs, the tuning window is pretty wide. You know, I don't normally run them this lean, but that pull, it was a little bit right in here. You can see the lambda was mid 8, 0.8, 0.86, 0.84, 0.86. That's a little bit lean. E85, like I said, there's a pretty wide tuning window. 0.83 is about as lean as I like to go on a boosted car on E85, on a port injected car on E85. So I can clean that up a little bit. I just need to add a couple percent fuel in the mid-range here, you know, between that MAF curve there between 8,000 and 8,600 hertz. I can bump that up a little bit, maybe bump a little bit more into the power enrichment tables too. So, but not a big deal. That's an easy cleanup. Otherwise, like I said, I just want to make a little video here kind of working through these tunes and what we do on these cars, and kind of get a feel for how much power they make with our packages on them. So yeah, you know, has this dynograph here, but it's I'm pretty happy with that. That car should be, you know, we take this car to the track in the summertime, it should be pretty close to a 9-second car. I think we're you know, right in good air, I think we're going to see a 980, 990 out of this car. So nothing too crazy. I mean, it does have quite a few little stuff done, and we do obviously have the top end on it, but again, we really like these LSA motors. They're really robust. You can, I mean, we lean on them pretty hard, and they take it. So again, yeah, Matt and Nickey, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.